before I give a one-word description, let me give a little bit of background for the audience so they can make their own evaluation rather than just based upon my opinion. Last June, while Nnamdi was visiting Kenya, he was kidnapped, tortured for many days, and subject to what's called extraordinary rendition to Abuja. We don't know all of the details because the federal government has been very reticent to disclose exactly what was done in collusion with the Kenyan authorities or with Kenyan bandits, if you will, to kidnap and torture and extraordinarily rendition Nnamdi to Abuja. But whatever the details, it surely did not comply with international law requirements for extradition, which entitles a detainee to notice an opportunity to challenge the legality of any kind of detention and prosecution, which clearly did not happen in this case. This was last June, so approaching now 6 months. Now, since that initial arrest and charges, there has not been a crumb of evidence introduced to substantiate any of the alleged so-called terrorism-relating charges against Nnamdi Kanu. The vast majority relate to broadcasts from London in UK on Radio Biafra. They were not broadcast from Nigeria. And the Nigerian Federal Criminal Code is relatively clear that for alleged crimes that occur outside of Nigeria, there's no jurisdiction to adjudicate those crimes in Nigeria itself, among other things. But this is last June. Now, since that time, there have been a couple of hearings held in which Nnamdi's lead counsel, Ifeni Ejiofor, and with assistance, has filed a motion to dismiss all of the charges based on the theory that they don't allege actual violations of criminal law. In fact, some of them allege no more than exercise of free speech and association. Let me give you just one example. One of the charges is that Nnamdi Kanu professed his adherence to the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. IPOB, about 4 years ago, September of 2017, uniquely in the whole world, was proscribed as a terrorist organization in an ex-parte proceeding. Ex-parte means IPOB was not given notice. The Attorney General went into court and said, President Buhari has told me that IPOB is a terrorist organization, and so you need to proscribe it. And that was the beginning and end of the case. Now, despite lobbying by the Nigerian government, well-funded, to have other countries list IPOB as a terrorist organization, it has uniformly failed. This is 173 other countries. And indeed, there have been 5 human rights experts from the Human Rights Council of the United Nations that sits in Geneva, who wrote a letter to President Buhari in late 2020, stating they had examined the case against IPOB and were very concerned that there was no due process, that Nigeria seemed to treat the mere search for an independent sovereignty through a referendum by peaceful means was a terrorist act. And these human rights experts said, no, that's protected freedom of association. And indeed, these 5 experts asked President Buhari, you need to reconsider whether IPOB is a terrorist organization because your process seemed to have violated norms of international law. They asked President Buhari within 60 days to provide what evidence and what process was utilized to demonstrate that IPOB was a proscribed terrorist organization. That's 60 days. Now that's over a year has elapsed since that request. And President Buhari, Nigeria, has come up with nothing, 0, to justify the listing. And smear membership mere membership in IPOB under the current Nigerian system is a crime. It's a terrorism crime, even though the mission of IPOB is to secure an independence through peaceful means, referendum. This is speech and association protected by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and it's protected under the Nigerian Constitution if it was honestly honored. Well, that's just one example, I believe, of the kind of charges that are leveled against Nnamdi Kanu. Now, there has been a motion to dismiss all of the charges based upon the flaws in the pleading and the evidence. Additionally, one of the very most prominent Sons throughout Nigeria, Femi Falana, has maintained quite persuasively that given the allegations of where the crimes occurred, the federal government has no authority to prosecute. These are within state jurisdictions, and no state attorney general, no state authority has filed any charges against Nnamdi Kanu. There was a hearing scheduled last November 10th to decide and address the issues that are presented in the motion to dismiss. But they were canceled, postponed in part because the government, again, in violation of international law, refused me access to the courtroom. I had not engaged in any disruptive activity. I'm one of Nnamdi Kanu's counsel of choice. And international law, including, again, the Nigerian Constitution, protects the defendant's right to have counsel of his choice. And at that hearing, there was a postponement, an adjournment, if you will, to January 18th. And that's the current schedule for hearing the motion. So January 18th is not the trial date. It's not to entertain evidence and witnesses that would purport to show some kind of criminality on Mr. Kanu's part. It's simply to decide whether there's anything sufficient, even in these threadbare allegations, that justify going to trial.
So guys, from my own layman understanding, and what this man has said resonates with me, because ordinarily, if you want to look at it, why is it that the federal government is pussyfooty about going to court and let them present their case? Like I said before, the Igbo leaders who are meeting Buhari, ordinarily that is what they are expected to do. But the lawyers of Nnamdi Kanu are ever ready to present all of this evidence before the court. And from what this man said, from the last thing he said, saying that even on the 18th that they have scheduled for another court date, it is not, it's just to even, it's not even the main thing. And I've said it several times without number, that they are not ready to judge this case. And if you could remember vividly, and he said again that the way IPOB was proscribed, a lawyer was saying, or the judge was saying, Buhari told whether him or her, the judge, that IPOB is a terrorist group, and that was how it was prescribed, and the prescription was not even in line. I think a lot of people need to be educated, and that is why you see most of the time you just see Malami holding press statement with all those sentiments, and people don't even understand the nitty-gritty of the whole thing. And my own, like I said, from my own layman understanding, why is it that it is so hard for them to judge this man's case, judging from the fact that they have been looking for him all this while, and now over 6 months you have not even done anything? And like I said, this month, the 18th day of January, that they are going to go to court, there's nothing meaningful that will come out of it. They just want to be postponing the day. If you have all the evidence, why pussyfooty? Buhari that is telling us that he should go and answer his case in court is ready to do that. If you see how he was brought back from Kenya, they cannot even explain it. We are not even talking about what they are always putting to the media, that oh, this man jumped bay. How did he jump bay? The reason why he jumped, what happened before he jumped bay, they don't want to talk about it. And that is why they know that they have a lot of flaws. How do you proscribe people just like that without being noticed, without notice according to what it ought to be? They will be quoting the law upside down. This Malami and Buhari, especially that Malami, a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians, apart from Nnamdi Kanu's case, a lot of Nigerians have reservations for this man. A lot of the things that they have done is awkward. And again, it gives me one kind of assurance, or one kind of a assurance that even Showore's case, it is difficult for them to be able to even come to a conclusion on his matter. So there are a lot of flaws with this Nnamdi Kanu's case with the federal government, Malami, and he knows what he's doing, and he knows that he's not doing the right thing. See all of the explanations that this man said. Like I said, from my own layman understanding, it resonates, because this is the same man you are looking for other countries to proscribe him, to recognize him as a terrorist group. But they said, no, that is not it. Again, according to what he said, that all those countries were even asking, gave him almost 50 days to be able to present why and how IPOB was proscribed. And it has passed 1 year. He could not do that, but they are lobbying on how to make other countries to accept this man as, or this group as a terrorist group, even before it was brought back to Nigeria. And I've been asking the same question. A man that you call the terrorist, a leader of the terrorist group, he's been going from one country to another. How come? How come? So they know exactly what they are doing, and they just want to continue to keep him there. You want to keep somebody there, you have all the evidence against him, you heard press statement, press conference, or whatever you release by Malami. At the end of the day, we are still where we are. Nothing is going forward, nothing is moving backward. All of these people, the judiciary, they are under Buhari. No one can dispute that.